I've been thinking a lot about what it means to love your body unconditionally, even as you work to change it. Can you pursue top surgery to permanently alter your body while you love your body? Do we medically transition so that we can love our bodies? Do we medically transition because we love our bodies? And the conclusion that I've come to is that trans people, like all people, can love their bodies, hate their bodies, feel neutral about their bodies. And transition is a lot more rewarding and more enjoyable if you come at it from a place of self-love rather than self-hate. And that sounds like, it's easy for me to say, right? I'm basically done with my transition. I got every physical change I was looking for and more, and I barely feel gender dysphoria ever these days, and when I do, it's very mild. But I'm not talking about, loving yourself as a trans person when you're done. I'm talking about loving yourself every step along the way. And that's possible. You can do it. In fact, I think transition is a very unique opportunity for you to learn the skill that is going to pay off throughout your whole lifetime of how to love your body while it struggles. How to give your body that unconditional love. So how can you love your body while experiencing gender dysphoria? Gender dysphoria is horrible. It's very painful. It feels like this itchiness all around you. Your body is it feels like making this terrible mistake. It feels like something has gone really wrong. Well, to answer this question, I want to talk about something that's totally different, but at the same time very related. So for the past year or so, I've been having some pretty major, unfun gastrointestinal problems. I ended up going to the ER once, I had to do a bunch of stool samples, I had to do a colonoscopy a couple months ago, and the diagnosis isn't entirely set in stone, but it looks like I have Crohn's disease. Crohn's disease is this inflammatory bowel disease where basically your immune system is kind of wonky and is causing problems with your gut. So your gut gets really inflamed, and then you have all these terrible gastrointestinal problems because of it. It's very unfun. And I have a mild version of it, so you don't need to be worried about me in any serious way, but things are obviously not normal and I would really like them to change. I also have Hashimoto's thyroiditis. That's not been a problem for a long time, but what that is where, similarly, my immune system has gone after my thyroid gland. So this I have an Adam's apple here, but I also have a bit of a goiter. So at the very start of my transition, I used to feel very euphoric about that, where I had something in my neck, but it was because my thyroid gland is inflamed because my immune system is attacking it. And I'm also a man who's born female, right? So it feels like there are a lot of strange choices that my body has made. I'm if I was in there, I don't think I would have done those things. I would have chilled out a little and not had my immune system attack all over my body in all sorts of weird places. And, I would have been born male, weird that my body's doing that. And yet, I have never loved my body more in any point in my life. I am filled with an all-consuming love of my body, even as it has these sort of weird quirks about it. And in fact, when I was doing my colonoscopy prep, that was the biggest and most defining part of the experience for me, was realizing how much I love my body. So when you're doing colonoscopy prep, if you are under 55 and don't have any sort of gut health problems, you probably have no idea what this entails. It is pretty gnarly. You have to drink this terrible fluid that cleans you all out. You have to fast for a day or so you're there really dehydrated and hungry and not in a necessarily great space. It is a very unfun activity. And yet, I was extremely called to doing it. As I was doing it, it was so obvious I was doing something that was necessary for the health of my body, that doing all this terrible prep and going to my colonoscopy was going to give me answers to help my body out. It felt like a very concrete act of love I was doing for my body. I mean, if I wanted to not think about my body, if I just wanted to live for just brain Arthur, right, I wouldn't have done any of this. I would have just gone about my daily life and ignored it all because taking charge and confronting the issue was really unfun. But I love my body, and loving my body sometimes means taking charge in hard situations and helping myself out, right? And being that person for myself. And so I think there was something so clear that this is something I was doing for me. I was doing to help me get better. It was like a literal act of love towards my body, doing the colonoscopy. And so I remember I was lying there in bed, in the hospital bed, kind of woozy from the fact I hadn't eaten for so long, and the nurse was, hooking up the, I don't know what you call them, the heart rate detector, whatever that is. She was hooking it up on my chest, and I was thinking about how my chest was flat and how, 2 years ago I had gotten top surgery to help my body out then, and how much that had worked. How I had fixed this problem for my body and made things really better, and how there I was and she was hooking me up and we were going to fix it again, and how it might be hard, sometimes life is going to throw hard things at you, but that I am ready to deal with it because I love my body that much. I think everyone has someone that they love, who's really close to them, who struggles a lot. Maybe you have a friend that keeps on entering these horrible relationships over and over again. Maybe you have a friend who struggles with substance abuse issues. Maybe you love someone who ends up staying out till 4 a.m. and makes terrible mistakes and hurts people in their life. And maybe you have someone that just can't seem to get their life on track, who stays in bed for weeks on end and you really have to come and drag them out of it. When our friends in our life, when our family, when they struggle, we're compassionate towards them. I think we know that we can love people who struggle. We can love people when they're not in their best state. That's part of love, right? Love unconditionally means acknowledging that someone isn't doing well and helping them out, right? Sometimes that friend that really struggles, like, you can think about how have you shown up for them. Sometimes it means just being there, but sometimes it means coming up with a game plan and helping them work through the situation that they're in. Sometimes love is very active. It's picking your friend up from the hospital, and it's driving them back home, and maybe they're in a lot of pain, and maybe they won't be their best self, and maybe they'll say mean things to you, but you love them for who they are now, who they will be in the future, who they have been in the past. You love this entire version of themselves, and you can acknowledge that even in their worst moments, there's still someone that you love. I think that it's really important that we extend that same compassion to ourselves, and that we love ourselves even as our bodies struggle. Many trans people are young. For young trans people, I think gender dysphoria feels like the first betrayal of our bodies, right? It's this horrible, painful thing that happens to us, and we're like, oh my god, what did I do to deserve this? And you want to feel so angry at your body for causing you this pain. And you hate that, right? Gender dysphoria is the first of many betrayals that will happen to us throughout the course of our lifetimes due to our bodies. Our bodies are imperfect. If you sit around waiting for the perfect body and you say, I'm only going to love my body once everything is perfect, once it's exactly what I want it to be, once it's correct, you might just never get there. Our bodies fail us over and over again, and then eventually we die. I think about the older people I know in my life who have health problems coming up over and over and over again. You can approach those health problems from a place of resentment and from hating your body, or you can approach it from the place of saying, hey, we have to get through this. I think that gender dysphoria, by affecting us so young, allows us to have that shot at learning how to approach these problems from a place of compassion, from a place of self-love rather than self-hate, from saying, hey, what does it take to get through this, rather than saying, why do I have to experience this? Because you know what? You're going to experience a lot of shit throughout your lifetime. Gender dysphoria is the first of many, many problems you're going to experience, and I think for life to be fun, you have to be able to handle stuff as it comes at you. When I hated my body, when I hadn't done that work to get to this place that I am right now, I would lie in bed feeling miserable, wondering why me. I would stare at the mirror and wonder why me, and want things to change, but I wouldn't really do anything to change things. I would just stare and hope, but be miserable. And I was really stuck in the cycle of anxiety. What if it doesn't fix it? What if I don't get exactly what I want? And I couldn't move forward. Now that I love my body, you know what I do when things are going wrong? I call my doctors. Well, I message my doctors on the platform because I hate calling, but I take steps towards change, you know? I adjust my prescriptions. I sleep 8 hours. I work out. I listen to the signals that my body's giving me about what it needs, and I respect them, you know? I take a vitamin D supplement, I take all my meds every day, I take a multivitamin, I floss. I would have never thought that I would ever reach a place where I do all those things. And you know how I got there? It wasn't because of anger at myself, it wasn't because I said, you have to get your life together, it wasn't I just shook myself until it worked. It was that I loved myself, and then because I loved myself, I was able to do all those things, you know? I have these silly little meds containers that every Sunday I fill out all my pills, and I take them. I wake up in the morning, and it's the first thing I do is I take my meds. And it feels so amazing to be in this place. And when the problems come, which they do, which they have, and they will continue to do for my whole life, they are easy to handle because I want to handle them, because I want to help myself out, because I love myself. You know, so you feel like your voice is too high, so you feel like your chest is too flat, or your chest is too curvy, or you feel like you wish you had facial hair, or you wish you didn't have facial hair, or you wish that all these things were different about your body. You have gender dysphoria. It is unpleasant. It is painful. I know what it was like. What are you going to do about it? You know, when you have gender dysphoria, you have some choices here. You can either have gender dysphoria and be angry about it, or you can have gender dysphoria and say, hey, I've got to change this. You don't have the option of being angry your way out of gender dysphoria. The only way to get out of gender dysphoria is to work through it, right? And that can mean like booking those appointments, that can mean starting therapy, that can mean talking with friends, that can mean trying to work through your attitudes around your body, that can mean booking a consult with a surgeon. It can mean all sorts of steps, but you have to take those steps. It's like an action, right? You have to do that work. You know what your body needs, right? Or if not, listen to what your body needs. What is it telling you, and how are you going to get there? And what an act of self-love that can be, to listen to your body and to take the steps that you need to get your body to a place that you know it needs to be. That can be, in fact, I think one of the most healing, the most biggest acts of compassion towards yourself. It's just a matter of how you frame it. So you book those appointments, you take your meds, and you appreciate every small step towards getting better. And there are all sorts of things that I really appreciate about my body, even as it struggles in other ways, right? I think about, again, those friends, those loved ones, right? We can appreciate the way they tell jokes and their sense of humor, and we can appreciate the way they cook and the way they care for you, even as they struggle in all sorts of other ways. And yeah, so does my gut work normally right now? No. Was I born male? No. But can I run a 6-minute mile? Yes. Do I wake up most mornings full of energy? Yes. Like, is my skin finally getting to the place where it's kind of clear? Yes. Do I love my stubble? Yes. There are all sorts of things that my body can do that I love, even as it struggles in other ways. And so I try to appreciate and relish in those things, even as I work to help it get to the place that I know it needs to get on everything else. And I just feel so grateful that my body is letting me live the life that I know I need to be living. And that I know, in return, I'm going to have to help my body out sometimes, even as it causes me pain. So we can come out of transition loving our bodies or hating them. That's up to you. It's not about whether you get the beard that you really wanted. It's not about whether you get buff. It's not about whether you get curvy. It's not about whether you get any of the physical changes that you are sitting there waiting for. And I hope you do. But at the end of the day, whether you come out of transition loving your body is going to be about whether you do that internal work to get to that place. It's the therapy, it's the journaling, it's the talking with friends, it's the reflection, it's the reframing, it is the hard work that will get you to this place of being able to love your body. So learning to love your body while you experience gender dysphoria is helping you build a muscle. It is a skill that will come up over and over again in life as your body inevitably goes through other problems, right? Transition has taught me to take care of myself. I think that is just the most beautiful way that you can love yourself. The times when you're gonna love your body the most, it won't be when you have the perfect beach body, it won't be when you take the perfect selfie, it will be when you show up in times of need and you help yourself and you help your body get there, right? I think that is one of the most profound ways we can love people in general, is being there in times of need. And that goes back to us, ourselves. So we need to extend that sort of same kindness and love that we do to our friends and family, to our own bodies. Because when our bodies are struggling is when they need our love the most. And I feel very grateful for having learned this lesson at 25, because I just think it's going to continue to pay me forward throughout my entire life. So I hope you get to that place too.